Greetings and welcome to another edition of Black Talk Radio, where black media matters and black life certainly matters. Today is Sunday, July 15, 2018. Well, family, they say that there's some new discoveries of mummies in the burial shaft in Egypt, which sheds light on embalming process. And if you see in the picture behind me, there is a photographer taking a picture of what appears to be an ancient Egyptian mummy. Well, that's what this video is about, these mummies that they keep finding and telling a story that is not so true. First and foremost, let's get one thing straight. We have a great ancestor who did extensive research, and he did a body of work that supersedes all of the Eurocentric claims that the ancient Egyptians were Europeans. His name was Sheikh Anta Diop. I may not be pronouncing his name right, but nonetheless, I'm sure you know exactly who I'm talking about. If you don't, you could do some research and find out who this great man was. Nonetheless, he came up with a test. It was a melanin dosage test that put to rest the claims of who the ancient Egyptians were, because what Sheikh Anta Diop did was he tested the melanin content of the mummies, and therefore there were no arguments against who the ancient Egyptians were. And so when Sheikh Anta Diop died, of course, the Eurocentrics went back to their shenanigans, their propaganda, trying to say that the ancient people who built the civilization of Egypt, of Kemet, is the original name. That the people who built the pyramids and the same people who built the Sphinx, known as Harem Haket, and the same people who built all the other monuments throughout Africa, the Eurocentrics are trying to claim that it was them, that they came from Europe or out of Europe and went to Africa just to build a grand civilization and then leave again. That's what they try to claim. They believe people like Richard Spencer, who makes these false, bogus, empty, and when I say empty, I mean empty glass of water, which is nothing. They offer empty rhetoric. And so I wanted to come on here and talk about that, because when I saw this picture here, well, of course it made my blood boil for a couple of reasons. Because number one, it sheds light on the sickness of Europeans with this whole grave robbing phenomenon that they carry out. And they do it because the people who are occupying North Africa now, who are Arabs, and that's why they changed the name to the Arab Republic, these people, they don't give a damn. So these Europeans who are financing these digs and financing these so-called excavations, they use these fancy words, but in the end it amounts to grave robbing. That's exactly what it is when they tell you that they discovered something that was buried. These were black people's ancestors that you were digging up, and it is blasphemy. It's a sickness. Could you just imagine that when this empire is dismantled, when this empire is taken over, the people that come here all of a sudden would be interested in digging up George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and all the rest of the presidents' graves just to see what they find. Well, we know what they would find. They would find nothing but dust, because that's all they were. about. They were slave owners who were dust. And so these grave robbers who has the sanction to dig up African ancestors, may you rot in hell, and your heirs, your legacy, your children suffer for generations. Don't get mad at me, I'm just the messenger. So we have this photographer taking close-up pictures, because they like to do that when they find these digs where they have these artifacts that are from the Hyksos period. You know, after the zenith of African maintenance of civilization after civilization, when the foreigners and invaders finally made their way in to our land and took over and dressed themselves up like they were Egyptian kings and queens. They were false, they were imposters, they didn't know what they were doing. But nonetheless, when these digs are found, the Europeans and those who support them love to prop them up. And so they're going to take up these close-up pictures and they're going to make it look like it's really, really important, because after all, it doesn't show that they're African people. But what they're doing is they're telling you a false story. They're not telling you the truth. And so I say this message to my young black brothers and sisters. While you are in school, just understand that the Europeans are telling you nothing but lies when it comes to your history. You need to be told that, because when you are made to feel less than, and when they call you a minority and try to make you feel inferior, you are not. You should really know your history. Your history is so rich, and that's why they're trying to hide it from you. Your history is so extensive, and that's why they try to get you to run the other way. But nonetheless, I wanted to cover this piece, and as a matter of fact, let's go to the second picture that they show in this article. As you can see, this picture of this mummy does not look anything of a African, but it definitely looks like one of the invaders. But that's all this is about. It was some invaders, and they found these artifacts hidden in the sands of Egypt. Nothing more, nothing less. These people that they are taking pictures of had no significance to the ancient Egyptian civilization. I'm going to repeat that. These people that they have these artifacts of that are non-African, they had absolutely no contribution to the ancient Egyptian civilization. My young brothers and sisters out there who are studying history, and especially those who are interested in ancient history, you should know your history of ancient Kemet, because ancient Kemet was all about black people who spanned a history of over thousands of years. I'll repeat, your history spans over thousands of years. It is the oldest history known to man. But let's go to the next picture. And so within this same article, they show this picture of a mask of a mummy that was found in Saqqara. Now, Saqqara is also located right outside of Egypt, and it is so it was definitely an African population. So again, when they find these type of artifacts that possibly show that they were of a European or Greek type of motif. Well, this is propaganda that they just try to push. These are pictures of inferior artifacts that do not stand the test of time that the ancient Africans of Kemet made. Because those, of course, you can still see those clear as day. A lot of the murals, a lot of the paintings, a lot of the artifacts, with the exception of the ones that the Europeans, of course, damaged or ruined because they didn't like the fact that these artifacts had pronounced noses. They had full noses and full lips. So I'm going to end this video off, but before I do, I want to bring up an important point in this video, and that is the Eurocentric claim that black people contributed nothing. Well, let me remind the Eurocentrics, and when I say Eurocentrics, I spell it Eurocen, S-I-N, tricks, T-R-I-C-K-S, because you guys have done nothing but pulled tricks on black people. When you say that black people contributed nothing, remind yourself that it is, and it was, and it always has been, the highest mathematics that came out of Africa, some of the highest sciences that came out of Africa, some of the highest philosophies that came out of Africa, that allow and that has allowed you to do everything that you do and claim today. Everything that you claim to produce today, you would not have been able to do without the black knowledge and information that you have stolen out of Africa. You have went to Africa and you've destroyed it almost completely, and you still do it today with your greedy hands in all the places that have resources, and you steal them, or you pit black people who were once considered brothers and sisters, but you divided up the continent and given people different names, and then you got in the middle and created all these fights and friction. You know, the divide and conquer rule. And so now you point your finger when you say that they're nothing but, quote, shithole countries. And then all of a sudden you'll find a huge diamond out of South Africa and write about it in one of your news outlets. But yet you refer to it as a shithole country, while it has some of the richest resources on the planet. And God granted that to black people. You could say that black people are the chosen ones. I'm going to leave that off here and now. This is Guru at Black Talk Radio, where black media matters. Thanks for tuning in. Please leave a comment, thumbs up, and share. We'll see you in the next video.